developments for today.
You have an assistant now.
How's that working out, John?
Okay. He's still there.
Yeah, he's still there.
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
I feel like you copied me hiring an ex-engineer as assistant area. Works out pretty good.
Tammy, thanks for joining us.
I talked to Kevin at the meeting a while back in December.
Okay, so we are all set up and we are now streaming. All right, first order of business is approval of the agenda for today's meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Do we have to chair this thing? Is it Charlie or me, or is there a?
It's
Policy
Charlie.
director.
Do we have, I was trying to look back, I couldn't tell if we have a vice chair.
I don't think we did. I
Okay.
think we started. You used to go to the technical committee
Okay,
chair.
go ahead. I am happy to pass the reins.
No, I don't really want it.
They don't your volunteer.
Volunteer.
Volunteer enthusiasts.
It's not exactly the same, but I just didn't know if we had to have somebody on the policy committee. As a pro temp or something.
If there is anyone who wants to take on that role for today's meeting, I am happy to.
I just threw myself in the bus. Thank
You
you.
did.
Okay,
Go ahead, John.
we'll work together hopefully.
Sure.
First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
So moved. Perfect.
By Susan, is there a second?
A second.
Sure.
Second.
Also, we're doing that thing with the policy committee and. to the
I think
technical
for
committee.
this agenda item.
Yeah, I think this one we can just do policy and same with the minutes, and then if we, once we get to like tip amendment, then we.
This tip amendment, so let me just do a little housekeeping here.
Yes, please.
With new faces and new staff, we do ask you to state your motion and your last name so that we can capture it on the minutes. We have new staff, and they're gonna get used to it. And then two, for matters that are just like the minutes and the agenda, we could do one vote for all. On matters that are financial in nature, we're trying to separate out the tip. So a tip amendment, when we get into the call for projects, we're gonna separate out the technical committee and then the policy board committee through roll call. Everything else we could do with single vote.
Perfect, thank you. Any other discussion on the agenda? All in favor, say aye. All right, motion carries. Approval of the minutes from November 8th. Second to approve minutes.
Second that, Vera,
Oh, we need someone from the policy board.
I thought for the agenda,
Well, I think so, stuff that needs to get voted on in general is usually policy.
just going for the minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought you were just saying just for like project and stuff.
Yeah, let's see.
Oh, I was just saying, instead of splitting it policy technical, we just do policy.
Okay, just that's fine.
He's probably the pro tem for Mills County without a supervisor here, though.
I'll second. I'll second that as for policy committee for Harrison County.
Thanks, Steve. And I do have a thing on the agenda or on the additional business when we get towards the end to kind of more formalize that alternate member list that we've got.
Motion by Susan, second by Steve again. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approval, please say aye. Motion carries. Item number 3, the Transportation Improvement Program Amendment. Staff will present.
Yeah, perfect. So we do have a tip amendment request from Mills County. This is regarding project ID 35284, which is a 400th Street off-system bridge replacement south of Jamison Road over Indian Creek. Project sponsor is Mills County. The tip amendment would increase the cost of the project from $750,000 to $1,175,000 per engineering estimates. Is that right, Jake? So funding for this project is primarily coming from HBP, which is the state bridge program, highway bridge program, and other local funding. So Mills County has requested an update to the tip to reflect this new project cost. It is worth noting that this cost increase does not impact regional RPA 18 funding. It just needs to be reflected in the tip for them to move forward with funding.
I'll make the motion to approve, but unless there's any discussion.
A motion to approve. Second.
Struble.
Perfect. You have a second? Angie, you can vote on these things if you want.
I can build up a bit and I'll second.
Perfect. Sure. Thanks.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Item number 4, the surface transportation block grant and transportation alternative set aside.
Great, so we've actually hit all of our voting action items for today, so everything else we've got is just discussion items. So I'll kind of leave here for STBG and TASA call for projects. So Transportation Alternative Set Aside Program is the new name for what was formerly Transportation Alternatives Program, or TAP. We opened our call for project for the RPA 18 on October 16th of last year. Project call was closed January 26th. Starting February 1st, we did open a public comment for the public to review summarized versions of those applications and submit any comment they might have regarding those projects and whether or not they were in favor or against, just to kind of get some of that public involvement piece. And that public comment period will run through the end of February. At our next meeting in March is when we'll kind of start our project selection process, and everyone will be able to review the project applications in a bit more detail and kind of vote to determine which projects you think we should fund and which ones we won't. So over this call for projects period, we did receive 4 applications, 2 for STBG and 2 under TASA. One of the TASA applications also applied for STBG, so it could fall under either of those 2 funding streams, depending on what the board decides moving forward. I've got quick line item summaries of all 4 of those projects on this slide here, but then I go into a bit more detail with a map and some more information. So this is our map of RPA 18, and it kind of shows the location of each of those proposed projects. The yellow one in Harrison County there is HMA resurfacing and shouldering of L20 in Harrison County. Red in the bottom right, we've got an M16 HMA overlay proposed by Mills County. In the gray in Shelby County, that is the ballpark to ballpark trail that was applied for by Shelby County Trails Board. And then the little blue dot in the middle of Harrison County is in Logan, and that was the City of Logan application for a Safe Routes to School Trails project under TAP. So, yeah.
How are we doing on the TAP project, the TAP fund? Are we overfunded, or is this taking all the funds that are available there if we approve both of these, or?
So
I think we'll get into those details next month,
No, I'm ready.
right?
I mean, no, I do have.
But we're not ready, I suppose. I think one of the things that you're alluding to was because we took that year off, because of the Iowa DOT guidance, we didn't accept any TASA TAP applications for a year. Yes, I believe they should all be able to fit, and that's just from memory, or not.
No. So I do have the spreadsheet that goes through how much funding we have remaining in each of those pools, and I can pull that up if you guys would like to see it now. Kind of
Sure.
in prep for next month, I guess.
I'd like to know about the TAP funding, because this project that I submitted for STIP funding has a trail at the north end, a 1 mile trail that is a continuation of a TAP funded trail that I did back in 2000.
That's the ballpark?
17. No,
Or what's the-
no, that's the Shelby County project. This is the L20
Okay,
asphalt reserve paving.
gotcha.
And
Okay.
the north end of that has paved shoulders
Mhm.
that would be a continuation of a TAP funded trail.
Gotcha.
And I considered breaking that up and make part of it tap and part of it, STIP. But I don't wanna bother with the tap if the other counties are using the tap funds. If they're just sitting there and we can't use them, I can use them on that.
Gotcha, okay. So this is our summaries for what we have currently in STBG. So starting in fiscal 2025, we have about almost $3 million available to fund projects. Which is not entirely true, sorry. We've got stuff programmed across multiple years. This is how much carryover we have at the end of each of these years. So they are pretty tightly programmed at this time. So yeah, so right now we have almost 3 million programmed for 25. We've got about 1.9 programmed for 26, et cetera, et cetera. These rollover funds get carried over the next year. So right now we really only got about just shy of $800,000 available for funding. And this is including anticipated funds to be received from Iowa DOT, which we haven't received official numbers on those just yet.
So that for 28 is after these two projects or before?
After, so this 798 is after everything in 28 has been funded.
And that's STBG.
That's STBG, yeah,
Right.
Okay.
That doesn't include the applications you're seeing.
correct. This only includes, this is the table from last year.
years.
This is last year.
Yeah.
This is the rundown of how projects and things broke down last year. It's such a pain. So this is fiscal year 2024, we're operating on the federal fiscal year. So this is how much we have programmed in for all SDG for 2024. What needs to happen between now and July, our fiscal year, is we have to update this information. We will hopefully get on the project's program before that and let for construction. If they don't, they will need to move to the following fiscal year, the fiscal year 2025. The programs and projects, the 4 projects that we're seeing are going to get programmed after 2025, depending on how much we're spending, how much we're getting in and our spending authority. And this is the remainder, right? Once the projects are programmed in, we have a total number of project cost. And then with the new money from that year, that's the remainder at the very bottom. For those that are watching online, hopefully you can see me pointing. So that's how it works. This was from last year's table, so it does include 2024. Like I said, if anything doesn't get built in 2024, we will move it over to the 2025. So this number is a little elusive. It will need to switch over, and this might be a bigger or smaller number sometimes. But this is just a snapshot based on last year's.
Yep. And then so for TAP, it's a similar table that we have set up over here. And these are the funds that we currently have available. So again, this is what was programmed for letting this year in fiscal 24. This is how much was carried over from fiscal 23. This is how much we're anticipated being funded. So this is what we received from Iowa DOT that year. So this is total spend and total remaining. So the balance then moves over, and this is how much we have to program starting in fiscal 25, 26, 27. That's how much funding we have available, and those are in $1,000. So $386,000 for fiscal 25 is available. And then these numbers, of course, will change as we program projects into those fiscal years. Any questions? Steve, did I kind of get at what you were looking for?
Yeah.
And right now, we don't have anything programmed for fiscal year 25, or as of right now.
Yeah.
Federal fiscal year 25 and forward do not have any program set of projects. I don't know the status of those 3 currently right now,
Yeah, we'll be following up in March to kind of get a
but
sense.
we'll be following up to see which ones are actually gonna make the 24 and which ones need to be pushed out.
Any other discussion? Moving on, item number 5.
Oh, no, so I was gonna do the project summary still. So this is where they are on the maps, hit this back into presentation mode. So for quick summary, we've got, oh, too fast. There we go. Okay, so this is the Mills County proposed project, requesting $1.1 million in STVG for rehabilitation of existing concrete road of M16 with asphalt overlay from US Highway 34 south 5.9 miles to Highway 46 underground. This is a major collector route, and I think that's.
Farm to market.
Yeah, farm to market. Jake, did you have anything you wanted to add on this project?
I think we were already approved for 400,000. That's an increase. Up to,
Oh, so this is a
What year was that?
update on a previous application there.
yeah, last year it was approved, I believe it was last year. So it's just, it's the same project, just more funding.
Gotcha.
Requested,
What year is this in?
20.
It was in 27 last year then.
Okay, so it was previously programmed in fiscal 27, and you're requesting to push it to 28 and requesting additional funding?
Do you want
Was it in 27?
28 wasn't on the board yet last year. So-
Yeah.
So you still want to do it in 27 or 28?
Hey,
Because I can move, I want to move our 27 project to 28 for $1 million in funding. And put this year's application 1 year ahead in 27, and it's only 600,000. So that's going to make another 400,000 available in 27.
Thanks.
If everybody approves. What was that?
Thanks, we'll take it.
You're welcome.
I can't give you a straight answer right now, because I don't know if that fund balance is, that dictates a lot.
Okay, so
That'll be sitting.
So the next one we have is from Harrison County. Steve, that one's yours, yeah? So that's the asphalt resurfacing and shouldering of L20 with granular or paved shoulders on sections without paved shoulders from North Corporate, Missouri Valley, south 5.3 miles to the intersection of L20 and L23. That is a request for $600,000 in STVG. Again, this is also a major collector farm to market route. And Steve, this is a new application?
right, this is the new application. It hasn't been applied for before, but I want to put it in fiscal 27 and move our 27 project that was approved last year for $1 million into 28.
Gotcha.
And this one is in worse condition.
Any other questions or discussion on this one? Okay. For the TASA, formerly TAP program, we have the City of Logan's proposed Safe Roads to School and Rec Trails project. Total funding request is $333,000 in regional TAP funds. It is worth noting that they are currently awaiting a state TASA application as well. If they do receive full funds on the state TASA application, then this funding request might need to be reduced a bit to ensure that the total project cost maintains that 80-20 federal local funding split. So this project is final design and construction includes establishing an 8-foot concrete trail from Main Street Logan to Logan Magnolia School District, while also providing a safe crossing on heavily trafficked State Highway 127. The City of Logan is seeking regional TAP funds as well, or regional TAP funds for segments 3 and 8. Our recommendation would probably be to just provide funding for the project as a whole, as opposed to splitting it out by segment, just to make the administrative bit a little bit easier there. But yeah, I know that Tammy from the City of Logan is on Zoom today. Tammy, did you have anything you wanted to add for this project?
I think you summed it up nicely, Lindsay. Thank you. And I agree that just doing a lump sum would be much easier than segmenting it out, as things can change. But just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to apply for this. This has been quite the undertaking for a small town with such a large project. The overall cost is over $1 million. So any amount to help us get to that is much appreciated. There's just no safe route to school right now for pedestrians and for students. So connecting and providing that safe walkability between the mainstream part of Logan and our school district, which is about a quarter mile north of town, would be a huge benefit to not only those that are within the school system, but just the entire community, as this is what we're hoping to be a jump start to an entire citywide system, trail system.
We've been working with the city of Logan on this particular project, so we're aware of the crossing in 127.
Excellent. Thanks.
Is the minimum trail 10 feet instead of 8?
I'm not sure.
Just for one way, for both directions on the same trail, the federal guidelines.
Yeah,
can
it's
be.
10, so this one's showing 8, so I hope the costs are right.
I think there are stipulations where you can make exception.
Yeah, I don't know trails, I just remember 10 was like the minimum I thought, but there probably is some.
There
Well, it
was-
used to be 8, then it went to 10, for ADA reasons. And I think Steve's right, I think you can accommodate an 8-foot trail for both directions.
I hate to see you too far along and the price is wrong because the width is wrong.
The research that our architect and our engineering firm have done and the feedback that they've provided us, 8 foot is the very minimum requirement. So that's why we've gone with that.
Thanks, Tammy. Steve.
What?
Oh, you look like you got to say, you were having something else, so.
You always look that way.
What do you
It's always easy. Cool. Right, the other trail project application we received, one thing I wanted to mention about the City of Logan application is that, as I said at the start, we did open up, public comment for these projects, in the form of like a public survey. That's links available on our website for anyone to, check it out and provide comment. And we've gotten probably like 7 or 8 public comments on this project from, people in the city of Logan who are very excited. There's been a lot of community outreach that's gone into this as well. So, as decided.
All the comments are positive or?
Yep. All right, next trail project is Ballpark to Ballpark Trails Phase 2, which has been proposed by Shelby County Trails Board. This is a rec trail project. Funding request is about $309.6 thousand of either TASA or STBG. Again, they submitted applications for both. It was originally an STBG application, and then I advised them to follow up with TASA, as that might be more appropriate for the funding stream for this project. This trail is construction of a 10-foot wide multi-use trail starting at F32 and proceeding to 1380th Street in Shelby County. And this is phase 2 of their Ballpark to Ballpark trail. And I invited the dean from the Shelby County Trails Board to log in today if he wanted to provide additional comment, but I don't think he is online.
So is there existing trail today?
I believe so.
From F32 going north into Panama, it's done.
Okay.
It's on the west side of 191, correct?
They consider the paved shoulders in Harrison County on 191 as a trail, do they? That's the.
It's not on the
6-foot shoulder on each side. Each
We-
section.
We do, but that's not the case here. This is actually on the right of way line.
Yeah.
But like Highway 48 from Roosevelt to Red Oak is part of the American Discovery Trail. We paved them shoulders 8 feet wide on both sides to accommodate bicyclists.
Those by Persia are 6-foot, aren't they?
Probably, but they're not paved. There's only two foot of this paved. I believe.
I think they paved it last summer. 6 foot.
I guess I don't know.
I saw them last week, and, but so I.
You're probably right. I'm just saying, I'm trying to go off memory and
Yeah. I knew they were planning to do a bike trail in there, but I didn't know if that was done or if there's still more work to do. The DOT and.
As far as I know, The only trail system that we're calling a trail is off the roadway.
Okay. Yeah, they look pretty narrow,
Yeah,
the way they were finished. Just 6 foot, but it's pretty darn narrow there. I need to be narrower.
and it may be because of, farm machinery and edge running. That they're a little wider than we normally do, because normally we just do like a 2 foot paved shoulder on the outside of the edge line.
I knew last summer when Western built them, but I can't remember now. When I saw them, they look wider than normal, wider than some, but pretty narrow for a bike trail.
So the bike trail is physically off the highway.
The one they talked about.
Okay.
Is that still in the planning? Is that going through, or is that?
Well, there's been a couple different things. One aspect is Panama Transfer at one time wanted to donate these containers to serve as like bridges for the project, and I think we kind of shot that down just because we didn't want that within the right of way. And like he mentioned, there is a plan to go from all the way from Panama to Portsmouth, right? I believe that's it. And one phase has already been completed, and this is phase 2, correct? Yeah, phase 2.
I think the Harrison County part is still a skip. I don't think it's completed, but.
I haven't,
It's been a while since.
on that.
Okay. Oh,
So those are all the project applications that we received this year. It is worth noting that both of these 2 TAP projects are requesting in the $300,000 range. And for fiscal 25, our current balance is exactly at the $300,000 range. So we have about $386,000 of TAFA funding available for fiscal 25. And we don't have anything programmed 25, 26 or out under that funding stream. And both of these projects are also eager to get going kind of as soon as possible. Worth considering for our project selection meeting next month. Between now and March, what I'm going to be doing is taking a look at both of our SCBG applications and both of our TAP applications and providing them with scores. This is part of our competitive selection process as required by Iowa DOT, so we can kind of rank projects based on these factors. These factors I have at the table here were taken from our existing TIP. If we want to change these conditions moving forward, we'll want to make sure we talk about that before we open our next call for projects, so that when people are submitting applications, they kind of know what criteria they're applying towards. So the way it's set up right now is by functional application for SCBG, this is a rank between existing applications as opposed to providing a numerical score. So larger roads are going to have a higher rank. Higher average annual daily traffics are going to have a higher rank. Poorer pavement conditions will have higher ranks. Bridge conditions, same thing, as you can kind of see going down that list here. Roads that have higher crash rates will also be ranked higher in that scoring rubric. Regional significance is kind of like a yes, no, based on what they submitted with their application. If they are matching at 30% or higher, then so a higher percent local match will have a higher rank. And then if it's multi-jurisdictional, that's also kind of a yes, no criteria. Do you have any questions about STVG project scoring? So yeah, so between now and March, I'll basically take a look at the 2 projects we have and rank them according to each of these conditions and let you guys know the result of that comparison.
Question,
Yeah.
on local match, is that just like 1 more point or something if you're over 30%, or is it a graduated scale?
So it would be a graduated scale. So it would be if any match over 30% is going to be ranked higher, and if it's a higher match, it's ranked higher. So as it goes that way. And then basically we're going to look at the 2 projects and see which one's ranked higher in each category. And if you got the highest ranks across, then that's a higher ranked project. We only have 2, so it makes it a little.
He's doing math over there.
Yeah. So that is our STVG
What are
project.
we here for?
And then for our TASA project scoring, this is based on criteria outlined in the Iowa DOT program guidance. And this is a numerical score. So there is completeness of application, making sure that project sponsor information, things like that are included. And then they're allocated 15 points for project costs and matching funds. 15 points for project development milestones, 10 points for safe routes to school, and 50 points for narrative questions. And the narrative questions are broken out in a lot more detail in the program guidance, which I can send around to those who are interested. But again, I'll be taking a look at the two projects that we received and scoring them based on this rubric. And then I will present to the group kind of the final scores for March. Any comments, questions on TASA project scoring? Okay.
Now we're ready for SS4A, right?
Yes, I already talked about public comment period, so I don't need to bring that up. We've mentioned that we're project selecting next month. Next thing.
All right, number 5, safe streets and roads for all.
Okay, great, thank you very much. I'm gonna go through quickly the status of our RPA planning grant. So just as a quick overview, we applied with RPA 13 as a joint applicant for 7 communities that are over 2,500 population for a safe streets and roads for all planning grant. That this is one of the IIJA discretionary funding sources, and we applied in FY23. So we'll be starting work with Federal Highway there shortly on the grant agreement itself. Just as a reminder, I think you're probably all familiar, all of the counties have applied for and are conducting local road safety plans through the same planning grant through FY22. And MAPA also applied for a grant, and we're doing that for our metropolitan planning organization for Douglas and Sarpy County, and then for incorporated communities in our portion, Pottawattamie County, so Council Bluffs, Carter Lake, Crescent, and McClellan. And just what kind of sets this aside from other safety planning that's been done is what we are adopting and taking on the safe system approach, which is recommended by USDOT and really kind of built an integral part of that planning. So what we're accepting in taking on this plan, that death and serious injuries are unacceptable, and really that's what we're working towards. The other principles on the outside of the ring help us decide and take our approach to it, and really those items inside the ring will be what our consultant will bring to us as recommendations for making improvements, doing things that we can do to ultimately make significant reductions in fatal and serious injury crashes, and then ultimately get to 0 at some future year. So again, background on how the county's approached. We'll be planning for those 7 communities. That the counties themselves are coming up with those plans within the rural areas, as well as for county roads within the smaller communities that have those farm to market extensions. But they're not standalone plans. We're going to work with all of you as you come up with your plans and really kind of, I think it's one big plan coming together. One example for the MPO, we're putting a lot of effort towards just cataloging all the various funding sources that are available and then kind of coming up with best practice, so that we're not just looking for these federal funds, if there are state funding opportunities as well, where the communities apply for those funds.
Yeah. And 2 of the communities included in this plan are Glenwood and Harlan, so we're coordinating kind of pretty closely moving forward.
A question on the map?
Yeah.
So are you doing the study within the MAPA region in Pottawattamie County, or just the city of Council Bluffs boundaries?
Just the 4 cities that I had listed. So we'll work with you, John, and on the local road safety plan that your consultant's coming up with to tie the rest of that region together.
I thought I heard you say you're doing one through MAPA.
So the MPO one,
Yep.
will focus on Council Bluffs, McClellan, Crescent, and is there one more?
Oh, you'll be doing a small town.
We're in Carter Lake.
Right.
We are.
But in that,
Yep.
we're not touching the
I
county.
can say we overlap there. a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
That
an
makes sense.
interesting time
It
when we
was-
were applying for this.
Yeah.
That
But
works.
we envisioned coordinating with you or with Pottawattamie County and their approach to looking at the county roads.
I thought you were doing on the map of boundary, which we have.
Yeah,
No,
so,
you got it out right.
okay, perfect. And that one is nearly underway, so we'll kick off with the consultants here next month. So we'll be doing that work actively in the coming year. This will be further out. This is a separate planning grant, but it's still the same approach. It's just that's when we'll have the money available and start planning. You'll have had, I would presume, your county plans done at that time, so we'll build upon that as well.
I have a question about your circle.
Yeah.
Is that, how does that, hospitals or something, post-crash,
Yeah.
crash care, is it roads to hospitals or is it?
It's everything, yeah, so it's.
Administration, emergency rooms, what?
For those things, yeah, that makes sense, but the plan will be holistic, whether or not that future funding. So that is one critical component, getting somebody to care is something that, clearly takes a serious injury crash and allows them to recover at some point rather than it turning into a fatality. So that's everything from
Response
recognizing what those response times look like, and then making recommendations for whether it's additional resources, whether it's a more supportive road network to get to the hospital or get to the crash site quicker, or a lot of what we're working on in the region, it probably doesn't apply as well to rural, but just having that traffic incident management, kind of that awareness and that ability to communicate traffic issues more quickly and more consistently. So there's a lot there. Yeah, I don't know what it's gonna look like. I am excited about that one, both for the MPO and for the rural community. We do work closely through the traffic incident management teams here and there's a lot of good feedback from first responders and law enforcement on improvements that could be made. Whether or not they're funded out of this program or not would be another issue, but that would be important.
See, in the last couple of years, the Missouri Valley Hospital added emergency addition to their emergency entrance and something for their ambulance to make their trips to Omar Council Bluffs quicker, and so they could keep an ambulance there on in the town instead of waiting for one to come. I just wondered, they did that with a grant sometime, with insistence that the county worked with them on that.
Okay, that's a
Wondered
perfect
if that
example.
was something
Yeah,
along the same lines.
yep, that could easily fit into something that comes out.
I see.
Yep. So this is a term we can get into more detail later, but part of the funding does come with requirements that we meet this comprehensive safety action plan. So this is, probably a bit more above and beyond what a traditional local road safety plan would look like. We'll do a region-wide assessment of crashes throughout the region. We'll focus on those projects and policy changes that would make for improvements within those 7 communities and
Recording previously. That's fine.
I think
Just
all right.
taking great notes.
And look for those funding opportunities for safety projects. And again, what you said, Steve, is perfect. I think what we'll look to do is kind of step outside the bounds of what this organization typically does and bring in other decision makers, other people with expertise and really kind of work on the problem together. So they might not be a member of RPA 13 themselves, but NHTSA funds, for example, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and many others have funding. The Governor's Transportation Safety Bureau, for example, has things that we can use within this plan, but also provide opportunities to fund projects. I'm sorry.
It says Winneshiek County there, and I just gotta ask. What's that got to do with Winneshiek County?
So Winneshiek County, through the Iowa County Engineers Association, applied for the 97 counties that used
Oh, I see.
the planning funds. They were the lead.
Yeah.
And so so
I see.
on the listing, if you looked at the grant went to Winneshiek County and the others were joint applicants on that plan. Just a couple examples of, implementation fund winners within Iowa. On the left, you'll see kind of those amounts. It is very competitive. You know, coming out of this plan, there's no guarantee that our communities will get safe streets and roads for all funding for implementation, but that's just a fact that we know. What we'll definitely be looking for is making sure that as we identify projects that we're looking across the range of funding sources and means to implement these projects. And that's why those lower costs, that's a priority for us regionally, but that's also a priority for this planning application, is to put things in that for a driver, for pedestrian, look consistent across our region. So if, for example, we find that, you know, as they've seen here, if rumble strips and stripes work well on 2-lane roads, if we do that consistently, we can do that across a range of roadways that need that and put that in as a singular project to be competitive. Some of these things are already happening. The wider edge lines, for example, are things that we know and being put into place. The Independence, Kansas, I pulled up just as a somewhat similar sized city, and you know, kind of that whole range of improvements that come across. I don't know exactly what the project looks like other than the summary, but I did pull out a couple of things that on the right, those are proven safety countermeasures from federal highway. What that does is it makes it easier to submit these applications or already accepted countermeasures. There's a lot of research that supports them, and you know, kind of offers an opportunity for getting at projects hopefully quickly that address safety issues. So this is what we asked for. We'll look to do this fully with consultant support. MAPA staff will help, but I think a lot of it really is going to be looking for that output from the consultant, asking for $125,000. The $100,000 will be that federal award that we requested. Iowa DOT is providing a local match through state HSIP funds, so that'll provide a majority of that local match requirement. And as we're doing the MPO funds, we'll receive that grant fund directly and reimburse the consultant. And we'll work closely with SWIFTCO and RPA 13 as well as a joint applicant. This is notional, but we'll meet with Federal Highway Iowa. They'll be administering and going through the grant agreement process with us. I hope to have an RFQ out for that consultant work in August, and ideally have our grant agreement signed in September and start our work next year. One thing to note, the final call for projects that we could look to put projects in for Safe Streets and Roads for All. Right now, they're opening up in February and closing in May, so that'll kind of be our end target to make sure that we can get the study done in time to compete for those projects. And there's bounds through that. We're kind of up against the clock on the MPO one, and we're just going to be smart to make sure, identify those projects that could be competitive for Safe Streets and Roads for All, and get those maybe out early while we're finalizing the plan. So there's opportunity here as well. So that's all that I have. Any questions for me? You know, I think we'll look to give you updates as the process goes. I don't think there's, you know, a lot to make decisions on, but this group and RPA 13, you know, will be part of that evaluation decision-making process when we're in the planning study. So, thank you.
Great. Additional business, public comment?
I have something, you said you had something first.
Go ahead.
Kind of a couple updates that impact this region. We're planning on having a online public information meeting shooting for March, likely April, for the Missouri Valley Bypass. There have been significant changes since the last public meeting. For example, there were several entities working together, the Corps, the railroad, county, city, state of Iowa, on trying to build a levee system around Missouri Valley, and it will also serve as the bypass. The original plan was to grade for 4, pay for 2. All this has changed now due to the Corps not participating. The city of Missouri Valley doesn't really have the funds to participate. The railroad said no to the floodgates. And so basically what we're going to be proposing to at the public meeting is that we're going to grade for 2, we're going to pay for 2. It's not going to be built to levy standards. And that's kind of where we're going moving forward. And then the next phase would be then to start purchasing right away. Another thing that has come up, at least in our staff meeting, I don't know where it's gonna go. John's probably well aware of the drifting that took place on Highway 6, from Oakland to Council Bluffs, well, even east of Oakland. But anyway, we've got these cuts on Highway 6, and they're very narrow, and snow accumulates in there, and it basically shuts down the system for several days till we can get it all cleaned out there. We're gonna look at purchasing some right of way along that corridor, very preliminary, so don't take too many notes. And basically try to peel that back so the snow can flow through there more easily. And it's in early discussions. I mean, we haven't talked to any of the property owners yet. We haven't gone any further. Right now, I think we're trying to find the funding within our department to make it happen. I just wanted to share that just with you guys, so you're kind of aware of it too.
What's the date again for tentative date, or is it a set date for the Missouri Valley?
It hasn't been set yet. We're still waiting from some work from the consultant yet. And once we get that done, then we'll set a date. Or originally I was shooting for March, but likely it's gonna be in April. And then right now the plan is that the appraisals and the right of way process will begin in like July.
So hasn't been set back that far.
No.
It was originally right away to start in fiscal 25, so it's kind of still on track to just totally change.
Yeah, we're trying to still keep it on track and keep it rolling. But we did have some setbacks from what we originally proposed. And it's unfortunate, but that's just what happens when you get so many entities working together.
So is Missouri Valley going to see a bigger requirement for funding, or is that, are they going to try to, is that going to be less? Any idea where that's going for cost?
I haven't heard on that. I don't know. I mean, originally I assumed that the city of Missouri Valley would apply for SDPG funds for their portion. But they haven't discussed it at all that I'm aware of. And so I think basically the entire project, as it stands right now, with the 2 lanes, will be paid for by the Iowa DOT. And then the city of Missouri Valley then would get business 30, which is the existing TJ to them. And I think we have resurfaced it recently, or we're getting ready to resurface it recently. I haven't been up there for a few months, but and then they'll have that on their system.
Yeah, it's in much better shape. It's been resurfaced.
I thought it was last summer, but that wasn't.
Part of it, well, yeah, part of it that was done last summer was a big improvement.
Yeah. Good. So that's where we're at.
But it's still moving.
Slowly. It's alive.
Thanks, Doug. Any other additional business? I will move into my additional business. Okay, so super quick, I know Travis mentioned at the meeting in November that we were gonna be doing a review of bylaws. We've kind of put that on hold for the meantime, just because we're a little bit short-staffed at the moment. We hope to pick this back up again, maybe in the coming year. But in the meantime, one thing that I wanted to get cleaned up on our administrative side is just the policy board contact lists. So per the current bylaws, which were drafted in 1994, which is kind of why we're hoping to have time to revisit these in the coming year. It states that members may officially designate by written notice to the presiding officer a maximum of 2 alternate officials to act in their behalf during such members' absence at official meetings of the policy board. So as of right now, we have Stephen Struble, who's been designated as an alternate for Harrison County. Jean Geddes is the functional member for Harlan, and I know John serves as the alternate for Pottawattamie County. So I wanted to bring this up, to make sure that if there is any other members that would like to designate an alternate, just be aware that you are allowed to designate 2, so long as you send us an email and let us know who they are. And then for those of you who currently have alternates, if you could please also send me an email just so we have documentation somewhere that you have declared that person to be your alternate. Looks like the Zoom has shut down, but hopefully it's coming back.
Lindsay, does that just have to be done once or?
Just the once.
Just one time?
So just the once, and then if you have any changes or modifications that you want to make, then just make sure to let me know. And we would need the official board member to be the one to send that notice over or something. Like it can be an email, it doesn't need to be something that's memoed and signed, just so that we have a record somewhere in our system that says who the alternates are.
The email has to come from like the chair of the board, or could it be just a copy of the minutes?
So for Harrison County, it's your county supervisor. So if they could email me and just let me know, so Tony could send me just a quick note to be like, Steve is my guy, then that would work for our purposes.
I say John is our guy.
Right, I mean, it doesn't,
Ryan, probably.
there aren't any restrictions in the bylaws of who that alternate is. I mean, it would make sense for it to be somebody else who works at the county. But there's nothing written down, so.
Well, I was just thinking, we already have the motion and I have a copy of the minutes.
Oh,
and I would just send that, but
That works.
if you need an email from him, I could send it to him. And
I mean, if you have a copy of a motion minutes, was that from one of these meetings or from one?
from the board meeting.
Oh, that's fine.
Designated.
Yep, that works too. If you want to just forward those to me, I can keep track of them. That would be great. Okay. Awesome. So that's my one thing. The second thing I've got is this climate pollution reduction grant program. So I'm going to go through this really quickly. This is something that we're working on at MAPA as a whole. So this is an EPA grant that was received by the city of Omaha to develop a preliminary climate action plan for the metropolitan statistical area, which is shown in this map here. We've got 5 counties on the Nebraska side, and on the Iowa side, this includes Harrison, Pottawattamie, and Mills County. So the preliminary climate action plan is due March 1st. This plan is going to contain a greenhouse gas inventory for the region, as well as a list of proposed projects and strategies that could be applied for implementation funds under this program in the future. So implementation applications are due April 1st. Those applications are not something that MAPA will be putting together. That's something that if you have a project that you would like to be considered for this round of funding, you will need to submit that application to the EPA. But it is worth noting that only projects and strategies that are included in this PCAP that we're putting together that is due March 1st will be eligible for implementation dollars. So what we're scrambling to put together right now is this PCAP. We've got our greenhouse gas inventory complete as of, I think, last week. So now we're working with the city to draft the plan for submission to the EPA March 1st. Kind of as this project moves forward, the ultimate deliverable is going to be what they're calling the CCAP. So that's the comprehensive climate action plan, and that's due March of 2025. So what we would like your help with, if you have time this week, is to take a look at our stakeholder input survey, and I'll make sure we send these links around after the meeting as well. That stakeholder survey is just kind of looking at the different emission source categories that we are looking at for this plan, helping us to prioritize based on what you value in your areas. And then if you have any project ideas specifically that you want to make sure are eligible, that you could include in this funding application, then make sure to let us know as soon as possible so we can make sure that it's included in that.
FYI, we have a monitor in Pisgah.
Okay.
If anybody knew that or not, for emissions, CO2 or whatever it is.
Nice.
That's how we monitor to see if we're in attainment or not. I don't know where it's located at exactly. I know it's by Pisgah.
Nice. So Carlos, do you have anything you wanted to add to that one?
Yeah, and I mean, I think what is important here, or what we're trying to extract with this stakeholder survey, is understanding from local communities what their existing or ongoing plans are that would match up for these federal funds. Okay, so why do we do all these planning studies and things? For us, it's really to benefit our local members to help you apply for additional funds. So what we want to also ensure is that the priorities that we put forward in this PCAP reflect what you guys need us to reflect. And so thus far, some of the key strategies that we're looking at are under mobility, we're looking to reduce VMT. And that could be done by many different ways, one of which is increasing walking and biking. So what does that mean to local jurisdictions? That means if you have several trail projects or big connection projects that you're looking to fund, you could possibly use this implementation funding to help move that along. But it has to be included in our PCAP for you to be able to apply. That's the weird thing about this process with the EPA that we have. So quick rundown, under mobility, we're looking to decrease VMT through increasing transit, increasing walking and biking opportunities, and increasing EV vehicle infrastructure, right? So that means chargers, et cetera, et cetera. Under the built environment or buildings, we're looking for incentives for weatherization projects. So whether it's making sure that cold air doesn't come in, or B, upgrading the HVAC systems or other systems in homes that are A, brand new, or B, retrofits. So that's kind of like the two little things. How do we provide incentives to make the cleaner versions of those available to the public? And then B, general strategy that we've heard is increasing the number of renewable sources. So that's more on the electric provider side. How do we help incentivize local communities, industrial, commercial, et cetera, be able to retrofit and or add additional solar panels? Last but not least is agriculture. We did do one for agriculture, right?
I don't know if we have one for agriculture yet. I think we were considering it, but I don't remember.
Waste and agriculture are the last two segments that we're trying to figure out if that would make sense. Again, on the waste side, the overall reduction of organic matter within your waste streams. So increasing recycling, increasing or decreasing the amount of organics that get into landfills are helpful. But again, we're trying to be broad enough to help as many communities as possible. And then under agriculture, it's again, looking for incentive options to decrease the use of some of the diesel engines that are used for the agricultural business side of things. Again, that is not the biggest area of my expertise, but we're looking at what we can do there that would be beneficial. Yeah.
And it,
I would say one angle they were talking about at the asphalt conference is that might fit into that of looking at how there's less gas used for asphalt roads because of the smoothness. And then just also the recycling that goes into production of asphalt. So maybe you can work that into the plan to help for funding of, you know, overlays and stuff like that.
Got it. Yep. But yeah, definitely take this stakeholder. Let us know how we can help. MAPPA's taking a lead in helping develop this regional plan. Hopefully adopted by March 1st, very tight deadlines. And then April 1st is when the implementation grants are due. The one note I have about that, those are highly competitive, they're nationwide, you're competing against a lot of larger entities and people that are further ahead in this journey. And so if your local community is looking, hey, we want to install one new EV charger for the restaurant across the street. Yes, it's a significant investment for that local community. However, this may not be the best approach to get to that. It's looking for a very large regional investment, and those that have multiple entities applying or co-applications are going to tend to fare better under this implementation grant competition.
And as kind of like a sense of scale, the grants that the EPA is looking to award for these implementation dollars are ranging between $2 to $500 million per grant. So 2 million is like the minimum they're looking at. I mean, they always say they're flexible, but that's kind of the bracket.
Well, I suppose you gotta go through the same
Yeah.
hoops. You're using federal funds, whether it's a $2 million project or $5 million projects.
Or $500 million.
$5 million.
And so that's the rub. The application itself is pretty intense. It's a 25-page.
25-page narrative and that's.
10 of which has to be like budget-based information. So, again, you know, if there's ways we can help, we'll happily try to help.
Do you think the county's the right shares would be a proposed project?
I mean, that's something that would be interesting, trying to get people to work, reducing the MP. I mean,
We're
that
all
would work.
commuters, I guess.
Yeah,
What was your question, John? Creating ride shares.
and the state of Iowa does provide a rideshare matching application. They used to. They're currently seeking a third-party vendor. Should be coming out soon, I heard. But there is additional assistance at Iowa DOT. Take that, Scott. No, but the state does provide, on the Nebraska side, Nebraska DOT does provide additional incentives to start and fund van pool projects. So it ends up being a net cost of zero somehow. The state has taken that on over on the Nebraska side. If you want, we can help you connect to how the Nebraska system works. And hopefully we can talk to Iowa DOT and see if we can do that on the Iowa side as well.
I'll just slide it into your survey.
That works out, that's
Perfect.
That's exactly what you want.
There are ride shares occurring, like, for example, Dart has vans that they have in different communities and people carpool together in Dart van. But we also have the route through Switco Swita, that basically goes between Atlantic, Council Bluffs to Oakland to the plant. So, I mean, there are those things happening, it's just, you know, maybe it's not.
When they happen sometimes, it's not in congruence with like the employee's schedule sometimes too, right? Like, I think that route has like some limitation on the service, and maybe that's something we could enhance, right?
Well, and I think it's because they run 2 or 3 shifts there.
Yeah.
And so I think the evening shift or the overnight shift is where they're having a problem getting rides and drivers and that type of thing. You know?
But yeah, just add it to the service.
We don't wanna run too far over, so I think if you guys have any questions, email Carlos or myself, and we'll kind of try to connect you as best we can. So that's it.
One final item, should next meeting we establish a vice chair, so if John doesn't speak up,
Yeah,
I'm chair again.
we can do that,
So
so.
been missing like 3 times in the last
That's true.
million years.
So we do run elections again in June, so that's probably when we would wanna look to do that. I mean, we can appoint, I think we can appoint a vice chair in the interim. I'm gonna have to redo the bylaws to see how that works, but.
John and Andrew.
No, it doesn't work.
Great.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor of you?
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone online as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just thinking.